All right. So thank you so much, Kelley Gray, for being here
Hey.
with us.
Yeah.
Lucky us for having more time with you. Thank you for your share about the soul, which I have, like I said, come to understand is the seat of the mind, will, and emotions. You let us know about what is saving you now, what is on your nightstand, your favorite binge watch, and cliche responses that are not helpful, make you feel shut down, and the things that do bring you back to life again. So thank you for those. And then as we look into the body part, as I had mentioned, Kelley Gray before, when I mentioned before, Kelley Gray comes to me as a merit credit. And what I mean by that is that she has, goodness, I credit her based upon her merit. And her merit to me is that she has decided to entrust her kind, smart, balanced, wise soul to my practice. She comes through many years of clinical work and someone who is a true overcomer. She experienced early loss, and she has definitely cared for people when they did not care back for her. But also she has determined to live a life filled with not just meaning, but a fight. And I think Kelley comes with knowledge and expertise, compassion, and patience for the process. She works at Restoring the Soul Ministries, which is is that right? Or Restoring the Soul Counseling? Restoring the Soul, RTS?
Yeah, RTS, but it is a ministry. Yeah.
Okay, and it's a ministry, and she is trained in many things, EMDR, and in soul work with couples, individuals, the Enneagram. She's an absolute expert in Enneagram, and I did not do a good job of identifying that in my previous recording, but I'm so excited that you're here today because you're going to give us a little bit deeper insight into some of the body work you've done. Michael Cusick and several other therapists work with you at Restoring the Soul, and it is an intensive counseling model. And would you like to go ahead and define the intensive counseling model for us?
Yes, it is I truly love it. I did 18 years of private practice, and the shift, the call that I felt to shift over to the more intensive model was to help people see more rapid change in a discrete time period. And so for them to set aside a week or 2 weeks to come and just drill down and do their work. So we advertise it as 6 months or a year's worth of therapy in a week or two. Because rather than, scheduling your appointments and you touch in on those issues every couple weeks or so, and private practice was just so crazy and it was so full and it just felt like the demands were so high. I wasn't getting to see the results that I was really wanting to see. And people were making wonderful, wonderful gains and wonderful progress. Something about the intensive model just really called my name. And so I can just get their entire histories and really custom design a treatment plan for couples and individuals who come to us. And it's just delightful. It's really, it's such wonderful work. And I'm so grateful that I get to do it this way. And it's just a fun, different chapter. It's a fun adventure in my career to do a whole different model of therapy. Yeah.
And I think it exists because people often have so many distractions. They have to be pulled, and this is like it's like a time of sanctuary for people to actually like, I would say, make new body memories as much as anything else.
They sure do. You're exactly right.
Whether it's going for a hike in our beautiful area of Rocky Mountains, or it's being exposed to great culinary things, and finally getting to go, oh my gosh, I actually can taste food again. I can I can sleep. I can actually just notice what I'm feeling and not be pulled into 16 different things.
You got it. You got it.
Second, I'm done with my clinical thing, and my clinical work is pulling on this other piece of my observing ego or my insight, but I can finally stay with it. Like
Yes.
I can stay nurtured in the clinical
Mm-hmm.
voice. And I think that that is
Mm-hmm.
rare and so important. And so I come to you as Mary Ellen Mann, and marylellenmann.com is where I do all of my stuff is there. I've been working as a therapist for a long time, over 20 years, and Kelley, nearly 20 years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're coming to you with a deep desire to be human, to bring humanity to you, to bring kindness and friendship. The Holy Spirit's name basically is advocate and friend. And paraclete or paraclesis is Greek for one who draws near. And so Kelley and I just want to draw near to you in this time, and develop a little bit of language or approach to being real and allowing you inside of our process a little bit. Kelley and I have known each other for a long time and have taken care to spoon feed each other. I love her. She has taken very good care of me as a human being, and it is my honor to have her on the show today. So anyway, thank you, sweet Kelley, for being here with all of your intellect and your power. And I know it's limited time, so I cannot thank you enough. Okay, so today is our day. The segment today is on the body. And I'm talking a little bit to you both as a human with your own. You're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a therapist, but you're first and foremost God's idea, and you're God's, and your needs and how you have chosen to know what you need and because I think you've developed a strong understanding of feeling. And so I just want to connect with you a little bit on that, as not only as all of those titles, but as also a person who subspecializes in somatic work. Somatic just means mind body. For those of you listening today, somatic therapies are like EFT or meridian tapping. They're EMDR or eye movement desensitization reprocessing. They're brain spotting or BSP. And mindfulness is the work of kind of pulling our brain into the system of the physical experience. And that's meditation, that's mindfulness has been practiced since the beginning of time, but I think people have pulled out of the scientific age of its only reason and pulled it back into the physical experience. And so, and then science has said, hey, we don't want to just be kissing cousins to this mindfulness deal. We actually want to be involved in the middle of the deal. So science has now come back as a spousal support for somatic work. And so we're very excited to see the growth of that over the last, I would say definitely since the turn of the century, but more actually recently, as in 2011, and then 2007, 8, 2011, 2014 were all the articles I started reading. And then a more recent book written by a physician talking about adverse childhood experiences, looking at the effect on the body. So with that, and her name is Nadine Burke Harris. And so, Kelley, when you and I got trained at EMDR, we were kind of an aberrant group. We were looking at this from the perspective of the body has its own messages. And so I'm so grateful that I got to meet you and know you through your clinical work, and to see how careful you are with all of this, and would love your personal insights as well as your professional ones as we enter into this dialogue. So my first question with you, like if you have any background you want to give us on EMDR in your experience with somatic work, that if you want to lace that into the answers to the question, or if you just want me to start with my questions and see how, or you want to, if you want to present your information and experience first, that's fine too.
Tell me your question, then I'll do both.
Okay, so my first question is, what is your primal response when you are in a sympathetic nervous system collapse? And this is a sub question, maybe the second one. So, and what are your go-to solutions when that happens?
Okay, great. First, just about body work is my shorthand for it. I feel like I feel like I have this pearl of great price, or this gem that I give everyone who comes to see me. And I know that you do the same when I teach them about listening to the sensations in their bodies around their emotions, or around their thoughts, their cognitions, situations in their life. I teach them over and over and over again to scan their bodies and just listen to what their body is saying. And they'll say, I have so much tension right here. It feels like a huge rock is in my stomach, or my heart. My heart feels so much tension in it, or I feel all this sensation in my head. But what the heck do I do with that? Tell me what to do. Tell me. They want to make an intellectual connection with their work. They just want the rational understanding. And we're in an age where we just know that rational understanding alone isn't gonna get you to where you need to go. Occasionally it will. That was the tool that the problem needed, so that would be the solution for it. But much deeper problems, like trauma stored in the body, doesn't really care about a dump truck of logic. It's going to feel terrified and activated in the face of some kind of trigger or inciting event. And so teaching people to check in with their bodies, they leave after a 1 or 2 week intensive, and so often I hear, I feel like you've given me this amazing tool that I never had before. And it's just it's a complete backdoor to emotional intelligence, and to self-regulation, and to self-awareness and self-knowledge. Self-awareness is not just this top-down process. So I owe such a tremendous debt to the researchers and therapists and doctors who have gone before us and distilled this information and brought us this amazing education that we get to apply to ourselves and to each other, or to our clients. So, okay, there's my plug for body work being brilliant.
And I think I want you to keep in mind what you said about the back door.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's not because we're looking at this from the perspective of manipulation. Backdoor is about a place where, and I want to hear more where you're coming from when you use that term. And I use the term all the time myself. And if we go through the front door on this one, we're going to get met with this high energy defense. And high energy defense is there for a reason. And we're not there to get rid of the defender, but we're there to maybe soothe the defender. In the back door, we come in, we finally relax the defender. The front door isn't so overwhelmed. And then we can get more of a flow. And the flow is actually a scientific concept too, of feeling like your body isn't so trapped in the mechanisms of its and very exhausted mechanisms of feeling like it has to be by itself. So I'd love to hear more. What is your I can't see anything, so I do have to pop my glasses back on, even though I don't want to.
But you're so cute in your glasses. Let us see you in your glasses. Don't deprive us.
All righty. And what are your go-tos when your sympathetic nervous system collapses? And do you want to spend some time defining sympathetic nervous system for us?
Do I? No.
Not really? Okay, that's good. Okay.
And I want to say backdoor guests are best. That's what we're told, right? In Alabama, don't they have there are lots of little painted plaques that say that?
Yes. Yeah, it's overrated, the whole front door deal.
And I totally do teach people what I'm doing. I'm empowering people to check in with their own systems. And so they're learning. I'm a very democratic therapist. We're doing things very concurrently. And so, so I'm teaching people how to listen to these signals. I'm not necessarily doing something to them. The sympathetic nervous system, you chime in. But what I will say, sympathetic is when we upset, and parasympathetic is what slows it down. Okay.
Yeah, parasympathetic is your rest and digest, and then your sympathetic is your fight, flight, freeze. And it's super brilliant. That's what I tell everybody. And I think you would absolutely resonate with this as a somatic therapist. It's your fight, flight, freeze, and it's your defense mechanisms, or whether it says numb out, fight, or flee.
Right.
And the deal with women is that we were taught fighting makes you a bitch.
Yeah.
I said that. And then and numbing makes you look easier to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And fleeing just makes you look busy.
So
Flawless
good.
because you
That's
lack
really
vision.
good.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I would love for you just to tell us, like, what are some of
Yeah.
your, yeah, so that's the sympathetic
Yeah.
nervous system when
Right.
it's flight, flight, or
Yeah.
freeze mode.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
yes, there is the fourth one called fawning or friendly. And I think a lot of faith-based people have been taught give when in doubt. And that would be the
Yeah.
fawning. That would be move forward when in doubt. And I think that there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that from the perspective of general care. But I
Yeah.
do think that we have a lot of very um, concerning, like we're waiting, it's a breeding ground for addiction for people to be fawners, because
Mm.
ultimately they're like, I gave this, it didn't
Yeah.
matter.
Right.
I cared, no one responded. I gave
Right.
this energy, I gave this sacrifice, and it didn't matter. And so fawning is often saying what people want to hear or what
Yeah.
people think you should do, and that is considered the fawning friendly.
Yeah.
But people pleasing is considered actually a sympathetic nervous system response, and I think a lot of people out there have been endorsed for that.
That is fascinating. I like that a lot. I mean, I'd heard fight, flight, freeze, faint, but I had not heard about fawning. But it totally makes sense. And that I made a puke face, and it's not because I judge that. It's because it's my own shadow side. And so, because I have absolutely done that to make myself feel calmer.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make somebody else feel calmer, and if I can get them calmer, then I'll feel calmer. But if I've given everything
Yes.
away, so that was why I had that.
It's hard. It's hard.
That
And
visceral response to it.
It's an endorsed response.
Yeah.
You know, be supportive and take care.
Yeah.
So as we look
Things
at the
that I
body,
will do.
yeah, what
Do you
are
want to hear what I
your
will?
go-to solutions? Yeah, for yourself.
There are a few, and one of them is pretty subtle, but I do it a lot, and it's just hand on heart, hand on stomach, and also, or hand wherever I'm feeling my nervous system upset. And so put one hand where I just feel the tension or stress in my body where I'm holding it, and then another hand that's open, which would just kind of be my prayer of God, be with me. Please take this crap away from me. Yeah, but lots of other things. And I've taught moms, like I've worked so much with the organization MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers, and I've talked a lot with them about when you flood, when your nervous system overwhelms, and you have tiny kids around, and you can't necessarily just walk out the door and take a walk around the block or something, and you really are kind of stuck with them. At that stage of life, I would do jumping jacks, or I would do push-ups, literally, just because if I felt so full of angst or anger or anxiety or just overwhelm, just something with the major muscle groups to get it out of my body. And I have less of that now that my kids are a little bit older. So my movements are a little bit more subtle than they were before. Okay. How about you? What do you do?
Yeah, I definitely love the push-ups and jumping. That's funny you said jumping jacks. I haven't done that in a long time, but actually did that recently because I was stuck doing, and I love working with my clients, but I had never not had a physical break from a chair. And so I had, because we're leaving the chair, we're going to the door. It's not big. I get that.
Right.
But still, a little something, and or moving around the office to accommodate something in the office for a client. Yeah. So I love the jumping jacks. I literally did that the other day. I love push-ups, and I say for people who are not as ready to go with push-ups, maybe you do push-ups from the knees, not from the feet or toes, and then or
against the wall.
Against the wall. I call them wall push-ups. And so I don't know if that's a formal title, but yeah, I love that idea. And because when we're doing extension muscle work, it actually calms the base of the brain down. I'm geeking out, but the second we're doing
That's great.
extension, or we're doing lunges, or we're doing squats, or anything that's like push away, the body goes,
Yeah.
okay. And it allows the
Yeah.
energy to go to the front of the brain. So I think that is a huge, when I talk about body, I keep it body. I mean, I say, if the body is sending signal, give the body something to do. And then number two is
so
what,
good.
yeah. So what part of your physical routine makes the biggest difference when it's missed? And you can say when it's given, when it's missed, however you want to put that. But that was my.
No, some kind of cardio is absolutely the very best thing for me. So a run, it does not even have to be very long, but a run is great. And if I can't do a run, yoga, just something that holds and just really exercises my major muscle groups. It just helps me be so much clearer and more present.
I love it. Okay. And then, what hurts the most in your body when you aren't taking care of yourself?
It's really such a blessing, and I'm super aware that I'm just a very privileged person in that I don't have any chronic pains of any kind. I've had such stressful seasons of life that I've thought, body, how are you not falling apart? Like, where's my heart attack? Where's my lupus? It just would make sense for things to have really the wheels to fall off the wagon. But truly in my body, what I feel in my body is like a squeezing of my heart. So it's like in my physical chest. That is the main thing that I will feel when I am under a lot of duress and stress. How about you? Where do you feel it? And my energy. Sorry about my nose.
And your what?
My nose is running. I feel it in my energy level.
Yes, I think energy. I think creativity is where I feel it, and I feel less brave to do anything. Like everything feels like a really freaking big deal.
Yeah.
Like, opening my car door, or so like
making
things that
coffee.
people, making copies or whatever. And so I would say I can feel it in everything when I am disconnected. One of my classic things, and some of my clients are aware of this, but like I had to learn to live an anti-migraine life because I had migraines, and my dad, had been seen by very expensive neurologists throughout Manhattan, et cetera. He had migraines, and as a child, I saw what it was doing to everybody. I have worked very hard to make sure I don't have migraines, but that is probably my final frontier after loss of creativity. I will now, versus that's where everything started when I was first even considering doing body work and therapy in the body with the mind, was because I suffered about 5 migraines a week. And if you've had a migraine, that it's nausea, it's perception, it's like numbing of the hands and feet. It's sometimes you lose peripheral vision. It's like having like a brain breakdown, and like surgery without anesthesia all at the same time. And so it is, my validation of that is that it is true, and it's also an outcropping of lack of self-care, hormone problems, and a lot of hormone problems are related back to toxic stress. And so toxic stress, once I started to realize boundaries, every time I've set a firmer boundary, I've had fewer migraines.
Wow. That got me.
That's a very real connection for me.
Yeah.
And so let me go back to you. Thank you for that question. So what do you wish people knew about kind of the physical event of being a therapist? Whether, and the upsides of that and the downsides of that.
I wish that there could be more movement in our work. The sedentary nature of the sitting is, it's not great for us. And so sometimes when I get to be at the Restoring the Soul offices, I'll run the stairs in our building just to get my heart rate up a little bit. But it really is this opening to people. I say, I've told many of my long-term clients, it's this allowing access to all the equipment that God put inside of me that, of course, I've augmented with training and education, but it really is an opening. I mean, it can't just be a wholesale giving away of self. That's not at all what it is, but it really is. There's some merging with the other. There's this touching into someone else's pain with your own heart and with your
Yeah.
own nervous system. And yeah, there's a lot of self-regulating that you have to do around that. A lot of your own processing. It really does make you have to do all your own personal work. I mean, since I truly have everyone has personal work to do. Everyone has growth work. Everyone has psychological wounds and baggage. We are all, yeah. I mean, wait, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. To live is to grow. I was saying it more as the text.
Totally. Yes.
The letters underneath your statement. Yes.
Yeah. So therapists are going to be always doing their own personal growth work as well. And one thing that my clients don't really get to know is it is freakish. I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, it is freakish how often something that a client is working through is something that I'm revisiting in some way in my own life often. Or it is giving me a reminder that I really, really needed. It's just really strange how the flow of it all works, the referrals that come to you and the work that they inspire or empower in you. It's not every case, of course, but I just think it's the most interesting theme ever.
Absolutely.
That was kind of a meandering answer.
It was so good because I think it was both what you're saying is like the body holds the memory of what you have gone through.
Thank you.
And I think that even if you didn't know consciously that your body was holding the memory, your body, because of the spirit, which we'll get to in our next segment, the spirit is enlivening or encouraging and giving courage to the body to say, hey, you went through this, Kelley Gray, and it deserves merit, credit, it deserves time in the sun, and it deserves a chance to flow towards somebody else. And I think that really therapists are just people who hope that by staying awake, it does something. It does something for the world. It does something for the other. It does something for the child. It does something for the marriage. It does something for the community. Whatever your life circumstance is, it does something for the church. It does something for the position of God and people's understanding of God. That is my big push. Is that, if I can keep the faith, having been horribly abused in church situations, then kind of anyone can. And that's an unfair statement, but I think it's my push nevertheless. It propels me toward how do I, use this in a flow toward the, the good or the strengthening of something else. And so I think it makes perfect sense that you bring that up. And so with regard to, I think as you think about like, what does being a therapist help you do physically that otherwise wouldn't be happening had you not trained in mind body work? I think that would be an interesting thing just to consider. And maybe it's everything and you're like, everything I already said, or it's got its own kind of flavor of, personal approach. So we'd love to hear that.
I used to really be not just invalidating. I was totally asleep to what my body was communicating to me. Yeah. And so it's given me the gift of being awake to having a body. And we can do this physical, spiritual split. And I just do not feel that way anymore. I feel like our physical bodies are complete miracles. I mean, it's miraculous. what we have here.
Mhm.
And the very sensitive and subtle instrumentation of the nervous system, um, it is so beautiful when we can attune to it and listen to it. And so I actually validate that my body matters and that it's communicating with me
Mhm.
and that it says extremely valuable things that
Mhm.
I couldn't
Mhm.
discern just intellectually or even emotionally. It
Mhm.
is this third wisdom center of head, heart, body. It was such a missing link for me because I used to just think our bodies, you just kind of use them and they're supposed to serve you and you don't really have to tend to them or be kind or caring to them. One really quick thought about that from the eating disorder world, which is one of my older specialties. I would have women I would invite women, not have, invite women when they were at a particular place in their healing to literally apologize to the parts of their bodies that they've spent so many years sending hatred to, just in their
Mhm.
thoughts, in their words, in their
Mhm.
complaints, in their conversations. If they've hated their stomach or hated their thighs, for them to literally like turn towards and apologize to that. And that can sound so freaky to people. I don't care. Because um, we are such complex and sensitive systems. I just don't think we can get away with it for free, devaluing our
Yeah.
bodies. It's going to cause a lot of other emotional or psychological symptoms. And so just reconciling with valuing this thing, whether you love it
Yes.
or not, you would have designed it differently. Everybody would, of course, but you get what you get. And so to treat it with love and value is that was what changed me. That's what transformed me
I love
in
that.
training.
And the deal with love God, love self, love others is that
Yeah.
I don't love myself. I don't love others.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I can't. I mean, I can only give from the well for so long before
Mhm.
it's going to come
Mhm.
back to haunt me. And so I
Mhm.
think that is super important. Like, where can I apologize for self hatred? Whether it was physical or mental or a
Yeah.
choice or it was something that I thought I should believe.
Yeah.
Um, and we were taught like the flesh is evil, but in our work as somatic therapists, as mind body therapists, and as people who believe in a higher power and something
Mhm.
truly saving us from death,
Yeah.
I think that the flesh, and I get it, it was a whole Greek philosophy and Gnosticism, etc., but the flesh is filled with the truth of God, and so the
Yes.
flesh is filled and the body is filled with an echo and a
Yeah.
voice of its own. And I think that
Yes.
as you
Yes.
speak and you say, hey, apologize to the parts that were hurt by you, and this sort of dystopian inner world,
Yeah.
you have the right to have that matter. You have the right to have your body matter, and
Yes.
all the parts matter.
Yes.
So I think that
You
that is
really
extremely important because it's honoring what we were taught as believers in a Christian thought process, but also as a universal body, that
yeah.
we are all one part of the whole. So if I hate myself, then I'm going to bring hatred to others.
Yeah. Absolutely. In really subtle ways. You really get tricky with it. I want to say one last quick thing. Richard Rohr has a wonderful quote on it where he says that he feels like we would have really benefited a whole lot more from if scripture had translated the word flesh into the word ego, to hate
Oh,
or
mm,
deny, not hate, I mean, but to see the ego as the thing that's working on behalf of darkness in
yeah,
ourselves and in our lives, because it's really our egos that cause us so many problems. It's really not our precious flesh. That flesh is just these beautiful bodies that we have been given
mhm,
to inhabit, and so um, all the subtle and not so subtle teachings that we've received in Christianity around hating your body or distrusting your body because it has
mhm.
these different urges or drives or instincts in it. I've gotten so much freedom from being able to have kindness towards my body and hold the ego more in suspicion, because that sucker is up to nefarious projects.
It is. And ego is driven by, I think, old curses. And I think even ego can be driven by what we thought people expected of us. You
Yep.
know, if I were to
There's a
condense
lot going on with it. Yep.
things, and if someone said to us, whatever God, whatever you're here to do, I love so much, then I don't think we would have a harsh observing ego. But I think
Yeah.
if we learned love was absolutely conditional upon you appealing to other people's self-satisfaction,
Yep.
whatever grotesque element that might have meant, or even perceivably indoctrinated institutional worship or faith or religion that might have meant,
Right.
that I'm here to satisfy the expectations of other people and
Yeah.
what they either did not live out or what I need to represent for them, then my goodness, we would have strictly body, feeling, mind, will, without the tainting
Yeah.
of everything getting very disorganized and
Right.
very demoralized.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. And I know you parent from that heart, as to go into that place of not having expectations of your children, but to look at them and appeal to what they've been created to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so this ends our segment on body work today, and thank you so much. Like you're basically helping us all realize that the body is an instrument of truth, and one of the many voices we need to be paying attention to, but the most important voice actually that we need to be paying attention to is today and your wisdom on this. And I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.